Gaurav Bhatia, legal wing of the Samajwadi Party. Vineet Narayan, senior journalist, and he's the man in that behind that tremendously important and relevant Vineet Narayan judgment, a part of which is also appended by the CBI in their affidavit before the court today. Abid Rasool and Sanjay Jha. Abid Rasool of the Congress, Sanjay Jha of Hamara Congress. My first question is to Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani, may I please, point out the government's defense to you? The government says that when the CBI has itself said that nothing in its basic findings has been changed, when none of the suspects' names have been removed, when there have been no changes to the central theme of the report, then why is the BJP jumping up and down on this affidavit today? If you look at point number 12, you know that they are absolutely right as far as that is concerned.
Yeah. Arnav, first, there's the question of whether this affidavit should have been shown to people who are directly in the line of suspicion, namely the PMO and the coal ministry. I mean, should officials of those two ministries have been present? Secondly, should law officers and the law minister of a government that is under suspicion have called the meeting, which was held, as you know, under the aegis of the law minister, and which the Attorney General was present. So it is illegal. This is like allowing an accused to see the prosecution case. The CBI is the prosecution, the government and its lawyers are the accused and its lawyers. So therefore, what you are really doing is, in the course of an investigation, that too being monitored by the Supreme Court of India, you are allowing the government even to have a look at it. Secondly, not only are you allowing it to have a look at it, you are allowing it to vet it and make corrections, serious corrections. And now I come thirdly to your main question, that what about the CBI's case, that the central theme of the affidavit doesn't stand change? That doesn't make a difference. First of all, we don't know what that means. The central theme may well be that, yes, there has been something terribly wrong in the manner of allocations. So what the CBI could be saying is that, yes, there is something terribly wrong in the manner of allocations, but what the government wanted to do was to sort of deflect the target and the actual person who was responsible for those wrongful allocations by changing the weightage, who changed the weightage, etc. All those factors which establish wrongful allocations, who was responsible for in the first place introducing them, and in the second place removing them. So the government affidavit, broadly speaking, yes, the CBI may be saying that the allocations are wrong, but on specific aspects, there's attempt at interference to dilute the broad finding of the CBI and perhaps to take away the real perpetrators of the crime.
Well, I'd like the Congress to respond, but I have one more question to add before I ask them to. Abid Rasool, please tell the country, if the changes are so minor and non-significant, then why is the law minister, Prime Minister's official, coal ministry official, why do they deem it necessary to make such changes? Question number 2, can anything take away from the fact that the Supreme Court was misled, that the report was never shared by the CBI with the political executive? That is exposed today.
Arnav, two things are there. One is basically the impatience of BJP. With great respect to Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, I would like to say that they have become so impatient and so nervous about the whole issue that they are not ready to wait for the Supreme Court to educate and take a decision on it, whereas the Congress has been saying time and again that we will honor whatever orders come from the Supreme Court. Now about the issue and the questions you have raised, I would like to say that CBI and Law Ministry work in conjunction. They are officers from the Law Ministry who are representing CBI.
No.
So based on that, let me complete. I have not spoken in middle. Let me complete. So basically, if the report was shown and if some small minor corrections were made as shown by the Director CBI, it's not such a big hue and cry.
Oh, it's of course it is.
Already seized by the Supreme Court.
Of course it is. No, Mr. Abid Rasool, I'd like to quote for you. No, I'd like to quote for you. Mr. Abid Rasool, I'd like to quote for you the Vineet Narayan judgment.
I definitely listen to you. No, let me come to my final concluding point. The final concluding point here is there are definitely double standards as far as BJP is concerned. Their double standards are that they have brought this matter up to the Supreme Court, but they do not trust Supreme Court. They have brought the matter to Parliament, they don't trust the Speaker. They have brought the matter to JPC, they don't trust it. So now basically they want to boycott everything on the streets of India, not in the Parliament, to create a sort of public opinion that we are doing something wrong. But their whole exercise has failed in Karnataka, will prove that day after tomorrow. Now as far as what you have raised the point, I would like to say that if we have done anything wrong, if the Supreme Court find anything wrong, we will be responsible.
Mr. Abid Rasool, I am not even going at the explosive.
I am concluding.
No, Mr.
1 minute, I will conclude it.
Mr. The hands going up from the BJP want to counter you.
Never tried to brush the whole thing under the carpet at all. If we had tried that today, the allegation that CBI is controlled by us would not have come true. Today it is very clear to the country that CBI is an independent body working in the interest of the country.
Sir, are you trying to link the Bansal case to the independence of the CBI? In other words, may I ask you that did the government ask the CBI to go after Bansal so that the purity and independence of the CBI is to be established? I mean, what kind of argument is that, sir? 1 second. Vinit Narayan wants to come in. Yes, Mr. Narayan.
Yeah. Arnab, first of all, what CBI has done and what government has said in the court through its lawyers, or the CBI has said to the lawyers, is something which the whole country has seen. I mean, they were lies spoken and for which they owe an explanation. But having said that, I would like to remind you that this is not the first time. I mean, we are very naive if we think that this is happening for the first time. This has been the practice with CBI. Even the court has observed that 15 years ago when they gave that famous judgment, they wanted CBC to monitor CBI and CBI to be autonomous. But that has never happened. The primary issue with which I went to the court was to ensure investigation, which was never done. So this has been the case with CBI. Whichever is the government, they use CBI to settle their political scores. And CBI officials, being part of the government, regularly consult the government. They have to seek funds from them. Their promotions, their postings, their deputation, everything is controlled by the government. So it's very naive to think that CBI is out of the world.
No, I am not imagining that.
So transparent.
No, I am not imagining that. I would never be so naive. My only point is this. I'll get Gaurav Bhatia and then I'll come to you, Sanjay. You see, today there is paragraph 21 in which the Central Bureau of Investigation is telling the Supreme Court, with respect to point number 5, it is submitted there is nothing in the CBI crime manual where the status reports in respect of ongoing investigations in a sub judice matter are to be shared with others. In our institutional memory, look at the language, Gaurav Bhatia. In our institutional memory, there no such guidelines could be located, but Vinit Narayan, certain directions were passed which we have appended. Now, I'll tell you what those directions were. Nobody more than Vinit Narayan knows. In the directions of 1996, Sanjay Jha, hear me clearly and then I'll ask you for a response. It is said, it is directed that the CBI would not take any instructions from report to or furnish any particulars thereof to any authority personally interested or likely to be affected by the outcome of the investigations into any accusation. This direction applies even in relation to any authority which exercises administrative control over the CBI, in other words, the government, by virtue of the office he holds. How can the CBI say today? We don't know. We didn't know we were not supposed to share this with the government. Gaurav Bhatia, given the Vinit Narayan judgment, will that argument hold?
Yes. Right. I think, this affidavit itself speaks volumes about the independence and autonomy of the CBI. And just because they are saying that there is no CBI manual that says that neutrality and impartiality has to be maintained, I would say that the Supreme Court judgment is on a much better footing and it is law of the land. And I'm sure that everybody from the law minister, from the PMO officers as well as the CBI director would be aware of the Vinit Narayan judgment because it squarely covers the point that we are discussing. Secondly, a lot is being said about the law ministry being the supervisory body. I would like to clarify that the Vinit Narayan judgment only said that in matters of policy, the ministry which is controlling CBI, which happens to be the Ministry of Personnel and not Law Ministry, would be interfering. They cannot ask for status reports or the investigation that is taking place in cases or in various FIRs.
Precisely.
They only have a supervisory role to play. This was again flouted. And third and foremost, in the previous affidavit, the CBI itself had said that the supervising officer of the CBI was also transferred midway. So I think the government also needs to answer that. Why was the supervising officer transferred midway?
So look at this. So look at this way. Let me complete the first round, then I'm opening this up. Mahesh Jethmalani, coming to you. Debate's getting very interesting. So two things are proven, Sanjay Jha. One, government meddles. B, the meddling is not to change English. The meddling is to change important parts of the manner in which coal blocks are allocated. C, the CBI is now saying, it's no big deal if we have shared a little bit. I mean, it's all right. If we've shared, we didn't know we were not supposed to. Now, will the Supreme Court in the given situation tell the CBI, very bad, don't do it again?
No, I'm not.
Or are you expecting something tougher?
No, I'm not going to forecast what the Supreme Court is going to do.
No, you tell me about...
I think the Congress party's official stance is very, very clear that this matter is for the Supreme Court to refer to on the day after.
So do we believe.
No, let me answer your question. Please. I mean, if you read the affidavit carefully, and I'm sure everybody on the panel has, the CBI has mentioned that during the process of inquiry, its interactions with people from the PMO, its interactions with the bureaucrats on the Ministry of Coal were as part of the investigative process. So for people to
one minute.
And they have also mentioned that any iteration or any alteration in the nature of the report was actually done. Majority of the changes were brought forth by the CBI officers themselves because they wanted to refine the report in terms of a better format.
Wrong on both counts.
I've read it.
Wrong on
it's been done in consultation with the AG
and
the Law Minister.
Wrong on both counts.
The clear words are refined the report. Let me answer your third point.
You are wrong. No, one minute.
Because I heard
you're wrong on both counts.
1 minute. Because I heard Mahesh saying there was an attempt to manipulate the report. Why it's completely wrong. Number one, as you started at the very beginning, the CBI has said there's been no material change. It has not changed the central theme. All the people suspected, if there's any corporate or any individual who's got the coal allocation through some kind of a wrong representation, he says none of those items have been excused. And by the way, on the critical element of the role of the PMO, the CBI has mentioned that where they took the feedback of the PMO was because it made a factual correction. So the CBI has a responsibility. It cannot submit an investigative report that is flawed, and therefore it sought the expert's opinion of those who are involved in terms of giving their feedback. So I think that is the crux of the report. And I believe the Supreme Court...
Wrong on both counts.
1 minute.
Wrong
the
on
last
all
but
counts.
Not the least. The Supreme Court will take a call.
Wrong
That's
on all
Congress
counts.
Party stance.
So, Mahesh Jethmalani,
and the CBI, I think, has been very transparent.
Mahesh Jethmalani, wrong on two counts, but I'd like you to respond.
Nobody is second guessing the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, we all know the matter is sub judice, and the Supreme Court is monitoring this investigation, which is why the conduct of the PMO, the Coal Ministry official, and the Attorney General, Law Minister is all the more reprehensible. But that apart, Sanjay is completely wrong. When the CBI says that Coal Ministry officials and other officials of the government were made a part of the inquiry, what they meant was, in the course of investigation, we have interrogated and summoned documents from these people to assist the investigation, understand the case, fix liability and criminality. But it is no part of any law officer or any bureaucrat, all of whom are under suspicion at the moment, to vet an affidavit. Please understand, Sanjay Jha, that a status report does not require any legal input. A status report is a pure statement of the factual situation prevailing on a particular day as the CBI and the CBI independently sees it.
So the question, no, two questions.
The CBI has said that the status report has not been seen by the political executive. I'm agreeing with you. The CBI has said the status report has not been seen by anybody in the political executive.
The CBI...
And the CBI has also said that they have no clear directive in their policy manual that tells them who to
I'm coming in.
No. That is the CBI stance.
No.
Not my personal view. This is the CBI stance.
Mahesh Jethmalani. Sanjay Jha, Sanjay Jha, I have to say that you are concealing more than you are revealing. You know that Mr. Ghulam Vahanvati suggested that a status report need not be filed, an affidavit has to be filed. So at Ghulam Vahanvati's request, what ought to have been a status report was converted to an affidavit, which affidavit was vetted under the aegis of the Law Ministry by Mr. Ghulam Vahanvati and others.
Mr. Jethmalani,
so let's not be specious on this matter.
Mr. Jethmalani,
affidavit replaced the status report.
Tonight I challenge Sanjay Jha or Abid Rasool. Actually, let me get Abid Rasool also in to prove to me. Mr. Rasool, I challenge you to prove to me that the Joint Secretary PMO who is being consulted by the CBI is meant to be consulted by the CBI, or is the Joint Secretary PMO, please 1 second, and I've got the status report. Point number 8. Later in the evening, the same day, a meeting was held by Shatrughan Sinha, Joint Secretary in PMO, etc., etc. I submit before this honorable court that regular interaction continues between my officers and said officials in the Ministry of Coal and PMO in regard to the ongoing inquiry. 1 minute, please. Hear the complete sentence. No sentence should be taken in isolation. These officials coordinate with my officers in production of the requisite files, documents, information and clarification to the CBI. In other words, that's the point. The Joint Secretary PMO is there to coordinate the inputs. Tell me, Abid Rasool or Sanjay Jha, is the Joint Secretary PMO authorized to see the draft CBI status report?
1 minute.
Is he authorized to see the draft?
Abid Rasool, coal minister for a period of time.
No. He's so you see, he's being investigated. So Abid Rasool.
No, Arnab, the investigation is into coal ministry. The investigation was looking at any allocations which were against the laws, and the Prime Minister at one time was the coal minister. So the inputs required for the CBI were provided to them to facilitate an investigation. You should appreciate
inputs. Inputs. No, inputs. Abid Rasool, I have a question for you. Abid Rasool, I have a question for you, please. Tell me one thing. Suppose, hypothetically, you are under investigation, and suppose Mahesh Jethmalani is investigating you, and you are therefore expected to give the information regarding your work or business, what you are being investigated, to Mahesh Jethmalani. After that, if you manage to change your role to not just giving information regarding your business so that you can be investigated, to saying, also please give me the report that you are making on me so I can change the report as I deem fit.
Yes, Arnab, it's a
no. So is that a normal situation? Is that a normal situation?
I will answer it very fairly and very truthfully to you. If I am under investigation, definitely I would have a chance to give my version and my documents and my report.
Yes, but can you alter the report?
Not done nothing wrong.
Can you alter the report on yourself? Can you alter the report on yourself?
Yes, let me respond. You're not letting me respond. On the question of alteration, CBI has said very clearly that there was no alteration to support or suppress or conceive any part of indoing or to take out any.
But that is where you are wrong.
Definitely.
That is where you are wrong.
No, that is the fact. That is the fact. If it was to support anybody or
then I'll tell you.
Take out any accused, then we could have not even.
No, I think 1 second. I think you haven't seen point number 19. You haven't seen point number 19.
To put the report under the carpet at all.
Sir, the point,
making it very clear.
No, I'll tell you. Since I have a piece of paper before me, and clearly you don't believe me, I will ask Sanjay Jha to come closer and read out 4 parts of this report.
I've read it.
No, you read out 4 parts of the report.
I've read the report. You tell me what the question is.
So can I quote 4 parts of the report? You've read point number 19.
I've read 19 with great detail.
So point number 19 says, you want to read the report so we can read it together?
No, you go ahead.
In case you think anything is wrong.
You go ahead.
So 4 parts of the report say, point number 19 says, the tentative finding about the non-existence of a system regarding allocation of special weightage points was deleted at the instance of the officials of the PMO and the Ministry of Coal. Right or wrong?
I'll tell you
right or wrong?
Can I answer?
No, right or wrong? Is this there in the report or not?
Is this there in the report? But why are you mentioning that selectively, Arnab?
No, I'm not mentioning anything selectively.
Can you read what follows that?
Yes. Can I read what follows that? Can I read what follows that? You said read what follows that.
CBI
you said read what follows that.
The law ministers because it was a tentative finding and further inquiry would corroborate the reality.
For God's sake.
Just read that.
For God's sake. I'll read that.
No, just read what follows.
Oh, okay. So now
No, 1 second.
Can I read what follows?
Yeah.
No, 1 second. You want me to read what? I'll read read what follows. I suggest you come a little closer so you know I'm reading what follows.
Yeah, sure.
The next line says, the other tentative finding about non-preparation of broadsheets or charts by the screening committee, to the best of our recollection, was deleted by the Honorable Union Minister for Law and Justice.
Right. And the line after that?
Right. Now it says, since both these changes pertain to tentative findings of the CBI which would be arrived at for further clarity, the same were acceptable.
Absolutely.
My question to
that is the CBI's value judgment.
Ridiculous.
One minute. That is the CBI. CBI is writing in its affidavit to the Supreme Court.
1 minute,
Arnab. CBI, 1 minute. Why are we assuming that the director of the CBI in submitting an affidavit to the Supreme Court? 1 minute. You are saying, no, 1 minute. You are not agreeing with the CBI, but give the respect to the CBI.
I am asking you today. I am asking you today.
That is the critical point.
I am asking you today.
Vinit
Narayan and Gaurav Bhatia. No, I am asking you today. Two hands go up. Vinit Narayan. Mahesh Jetmalani coming to you. Vinit Narayan.
Arnab, I want
coming
to ask
you
a question. You ask all of us questions. I want to ask you a question. We are very, very critical about the government's role in tampering with the affidavits and these proceedings. You may recall 2 days back when I made a written submission to the Honorable Supreme Court regarding this ongoing matter, where I reminded the court that despite Supreme Court supervision, monitoring of Supreme Court in the case, 22 names in the Jain diaries remain to be decoded till today, when the author is moving around freely. That is despite Supreme Court's monitoring. There has been tremendous tampering by CBI despite Supreme Court monitoring. 2 of my affidavits remain to be answered by the CBI, where they have concealed the files from Supreme Court's monitoring. So this has been going on.
I know, Mr.
Where do we want to go from here?
No, Mr. Narayan. Mr. Narayan, I want to bring the focus. No, I want to bring the focus on this, and my co-reader in this report is Sanjay Jha.
Focus is all right, Arnab, but these issues will keep cropping up every day.
Yeah, I get it.
We have to go to the root of the problem.
No, we will go to the root of the problem, but you know, this is explosive point number 19. Gaurav Bhatia, one more point before I come to you. Mahesh Jetmalani, I'm coming to you. I know there's a lot that you want to say. I'm going to give you equal time. Just want to get a word from Gaurav Bhatia. Now we are going to read another part of para number 19, the next sentence in our continuing attempt to go through this report, and the only reason I'm getting Sanjay Jha forward, ladies and gentlemen, is that so he doesn't think anything is quoted out of it. Next slide. Further, from paragraph 1.23 of the same report, deletion of a sentence about scope of inquiry with regard to legality of allocation. While the amendments of law were in process was done by the Honorable Union Minister for Law and Justice, which other words is there is proven an attempt to limit the scope of inquiry which impacts decision on coal blocks which have been allocated. No, right or wrong?
No, 1 minute. You have.
Is this also normal?
Arnab, you have to link it to the next line. Can you read the next line?
Yeah, I will now read the next line.
And that is where you get the conclusion.
Yeah, no, I will now read the change made in paragraph 2.8 of the final status report pertaining to PE4, which is the NDA period, about non-existence of approved guidelines for allocation of coal blocks was incorporated the instance of officials of the PMO.
And now see the last
and Ministry of Coal, as the same was factually correct. So
that's the point.
No. So
as the same was factually correct.
One second.
That is the
one second.
You know, Arnab,
the PMO.
The CBI is saying that what was told to them by the law minister.
But the CBI
was told by listen. Please understand that the CBI also needs as much fact and information before it files a final report.
Okay, Gaurav Bhatia.
The CBI is agreeing it was
Gaurav Bhatia and Mahesh Jetmalani attempt to read.
There was no attempt made to mislead the CBI.
Gaurav Bhatia.
I would say, Arnab, a lot of hue and cry. A lot of hue and cry is being made about consulting the Honorable Law Minister, whereas I would say the only person they should have consulted was their lawyer, who was the then ASG, and nobody else. And he was acting as lawyer of the CBI at that point. He wasn't even subordinate to the highest law officer of the country or the law ministry. Secondly, point was being made by Mr. Rasool. He was saying that, you know, they were cooperating and they were sharing certain facts with the CBI. There is a difference between investigation and when you share information, and at investigation stage, the officers of the law ministry or of the coal ministry or the PMO could have shared any information, but when they were supposed to file the status report, nobody had the right to interfere with the language as well as the content of the status report. And that is why now it is like misleading the court itself, which was heavily relying on this CBI status report.
No, I want Mahesh Jetmalani to come.
Gaurav, for your
I want my
CBI affidavit says majority of the changes were done by my officers in order to refine the report in consultation with.
I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry.
How do you draw from that?
I am sorry.
Government is interfering.
I am sorry.
1 minute,
Gaurav. Gaurav, 1 minute. Gaurav, 1 minute.
Supposed to act independently?
Gaurav, I will now. 1 minute. I'm going to have to ask Sanjay Jha to come closer again. Sanjay Jha, 1 minute. Sanjay Jha says, what did you just say, Sanjay?
Well,
majority of the changes were made by the.
Done by my officers in order to refine.
No, but done by CBI officers, right?
Well, I mean, my officers.
My officers. Now you see verbatim. Sanjay, I want you to read this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please read this.
You read it. Why don't you? Your voice booms much louder.
No. Why don't you read the complete sentence? I want you to read the complete sentence. Yeah. What does it say? Majority of these changes were done by my officers. Till here you are right. In order to refine the reports either on their own or in consultation.
That's his call. That's a CBI.
You don't want to read the rest of the sentence?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or in consultation with the learned ASG and his assisting advocate, or please read the next line, or by the Honorable Union Minister for Law and Justice. Besides, next sentence, since you like to read next sentences, a few changes were also done on the suggestion of the learned AG and officials of the PMO and Ministry of Coal. So, in other words, these changes are being made at the behest of the government.
It is not. The CBI is saying of their own volition, they wanted to make these changes, and they consulted with whoever they felt would be able to give them appropriate inputs. Now, 1 minute. As any investigative agency, where does it get its facts from? The CBI is not a master in coal. It has to find the information on coal. Yeah. The CBI is not a master in pricing.
Okay, Mahesh Jetmalani, please.
It has to discover that pricing mechanism. Therefore, they need the assistance.
Mahesh Jetmalani.
As well.
Mr. Jetmalani.
This meeting, by the way, Arnab, this meeting was not called by the CBI for the purpose of any clarification. It was called by the Law Minister, and the CBI was summoned by the Law Minister through the Attorney General. So let's get some facts straight. Now, Arnab, to a certain extent, we are now sort of violating the infringing laws of sub judice by going into the legal effect of the averments in the affidavit. But two things are clear, and I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to overstep the limit, because then we will be offending the Supreme Court. One is that it is clear that at the instance of the PMO, two vital changes were made in the last two paragraphs which you read to Gaurav Bhatia. In paragraph 19, 2 points. One is that as far as the scope of the inquiry was concerned, there was an attempt to circumscribe it by the PMO. That is a very significant averment in that affidavit. Secondly, the PMO has played politics by trying to go back to the NDA government. So this is an attempt not just to subvert the investigation, but also to politicize it. And this is all done at the instance of what we consider to be an honest, above-the-board, completely clean Prime Minister.
Mahesh Jetmalani, as I invite Abid Rasool to respond to you, may I please say for the second or third time in the course of this discussion, with the highest respect, the final adjudication of whether or not this is interference will be only in the hands of the Supreme Court of India. We are discussing an affidavit which is in the public domain. The Supreme Court of India will have the final say on whether this amounts to tampering, interference, transgression or anything else. And like everyone else in this country, we too will be looking forward very much to what the Supreme Court says. We have the highest regard for the learned judges, and they will educate us on what they feel about the provisions that have been presented in the CBI affidavit. So I just want to put that on record. Abid Rasool, however, a few points have been made there by Mahesh Jetmalani about an attempt to try and drag in the NDA politically by asking for certain parts to be brought in by the CBI Director. Why would the government do that?
Arnab, the basic question is, are you happy with the affidavit that has been filed because you are relying your whole arguments on it, or do you feel that the affidavit is wrong? Sir, now, this is the question that needs to be answered. It is very clear the affidavit at any stage does not say that the government has done something wrong to protect anybody. Definitely there are some averments which you have been reading out on the channel which says that this should not have been the conduct. So conduct or a criminalization where they try to support or try to save somebody is different issues altogether.
Sir, let me counter question
you. So now Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, if he is talking about probity and if he is talking about this thing, then BJP also needs to first wash its line and clear and come to us. They have been doing everything wrong, everything which is against the ethics of the society. They try to get a criminal into as a general secretary of the party. They try to get Gadkari into it without making him resign, and then they talk about our party and the ethics. When the matter is in Supreme Court, as you rightly said, we should wait for the Supreme Court order.
Sir, can I ask you a counter question? Small one?
May I come in, please? Yeah.
Okay, one sec. Vineet Narayan and Gaurav Bhatia both want to come in. I just wanted to ask one small question, sir. You know, what is material and what is substantive? The whole country is asking one question: can any changes be made in a CBI report at all?
But that is the question before the Supreme Court. That is what Supreme Court is going to decide on it, whether the changes have been made, whether the changes have been made to protect somebody, or whether
there's an acknowledgement by the CBI that they got correct data from the ministries. Well, so that's the way you can file a correct report. The CBI can't file a report that tomorrow can be challenged and dragged in the court again. So they have got all the requisite information and they're feeling they have appreciated it.
Sir, absolutely not. The meeting to vet the CBI report on Colgate was called at the behest of the Joint Secretary of the Prime Minister's office, Sanjay Jha. Are we to believe that Shatrughan Sinha, Joint Secretary of the PMO, acted on his own in calling a meeting with the Joint Secretary CBI and the Joint Secretary of the Coal Ministry? But Arnab, can a Joint Secretary of the PMO do that on his own?
But Arnab, at the very outset, the CBI has said there has been no iteration in the report of any material nature. The theme has
a direct attempt.
The suspicious characters are still there.
A direct attempt to shield the PMO and the Coal Ministry by painting these meetings as routine and like a fact-finding mission. The question is, why should these officials have access to these coal reports? If there is to be an interface between the CBI and the PMO and the Coal Ministry, should it not be in the nature of official queries and not a meeting in which an investigation details are shared for, deliberated, vetted, altered? I mean, is this not basic stuff, Sanjay Jha? Let us not forget the PMO and the Coal Ministry are practically the accused in this case.
You know what? I can tell you this.
Are they not practically Gaurav Bhatia? They're accused in this case.
They're not.
Let's get Gaurav Bhatia. He's also, you know, a lawyer. Let's get his perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Arnab, I think you are absolutely right on the point that what is happening here is that the investigation agency is actually sitting with people who are accused of certain. The Coal Ministry and the PMO Ministry is the concerned ministry in this case. And in any normal case, I shudder to think what would happen to an accused if he is caught with the investigating agency sitting and discussing the case diary. But just because, you know, it's the high and mighty here, we are not talking about it. In another case, they would have been behind bars. And then three important sequence of events that I would like to share. First, the Congress was saying that the report has not been shared with the political executive through the law officer. That has been proven wrong. Then they said that only grammatical errors were corrected. That is proven wrong. And I heard Mr. Rasool saying on one of the channels just a few days back that there were no alterations made to the report.
Yes, Mr. Rasool.
And now even that has been
Mr. Rasool, respond.
So it is only through affidavits that truth is coming out.
I would like to respond.
Respond.
I would like to put it straight. Yeah, basically what I said, no alterations have been made to protect anybody. I never said no alterations. You can recall that interview. I said no alterations have been made to protect anybody. And Mr. Bhatia, I would like to say this very clearly that whatever has been done very transparently, and there was no action from the Congress side to see that the report is brushed under the carpet or any affidavit is called wrongly.
And the Congress should apologize to the people of the nation.
Before you accuse somebody, you should also give that person a chance to
and it is used to it is used to settle political scores.
Last word to Vineet Narayan. Vineet Narayan, do you think the government has entangled itself in a bit too much in this case? And do you think the CBI status report reveals more than it conceals?
But Arnab, I totally agree with what you are saying, and I feel government owes a lot of explanation to the country. But we have to again go back to the Honorable Supreme Court, where they express their concern about the way their directions have been sidelined by the ruling elite of this country. And I'm concerned again that on 8th, when Supreme Court is going to pass orders in this case, suppose they give further guidelines. what is the guarantee that the political parties, whether BJP, Congress or others, who are making big noise about this whole issue, will listen to the guidelines of Supreme Court, will make sure that we create a situation where such mistakes are not repeated? That is my concern. Well, these issues are all right. You know, every week we'll have a new scam.
I mean,
but
Mr. Narayan, you can feel optimistic that when the CBI has investigated a relative of the India's railway minister, it goes to show that, you know, all the
it doesn't go to show.
A fall guy,
I'm very sorry, Sanjay Jha. May
not be a fair
Sanjay Jha, for you, a relative of a what is it? What minister? A relative of a Minister of Railways may be a special person. For me, a relative of a Minister of Railways is just another citizen.
The CBI does function independently.
I don't.
Why do you think? Why should we be so cynical all the time?
Why should we treat a relative of a railway minister on a higher platform than others? You seem to suggest.
It could be anybody.
Mahesh Jethmalani, last word to you.
Just in response to Sanjay Jha, yes, there has been a significant shift in the CBI's independence after the Supreme Court gave a signal the other day and observed that we will have to free the CBI from political interference.
Absolutely.
Justice Lodha said that the Supreme Court, and we have seen some signal. But let me tell you something. There cannot be a relative involved in taking illegal gratification unless that relative has the consent of the minister who is in a position to do it. When the CBI arrests that minister, it will be truly independent.
Okay, well, we look forward to what the Honorable Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court has shown the way in the past, and we await their judgment and their guidance on this very important matter. All eyes on the Supreme Court. Let's see what they think of the whole matter, whether it's interference or not. Thank you, gentlemen.